Roland. So we talk something relevant with the computer system validations in the digital. The entire pharma world is upgrading itself one point to the other. So there are several milestones that we have actually crossed one after the other since year 2020. 20 after 2020, it has become much serious, but actually the work around it started actually on the ground right from the 2005, early 2000s, I can say that. So initially, it was the SOPs. How do you show your complaints to the regulatory authorities? It is with the formats, it is the kind of data that we are gathering, and we are actually uh, interested to recall the events, like creating a history or showing the evidence. That is the manual system, what actually it did. But later on, there were some issues. Some data integrity issues, and 1995 was the time when the data integrity actually started pitching in, and now they wanted a systemized workaround and the process flows and the computer systems and the software, and now for a greater compliance we have shifted down to software, and now we can actually understand how best we have gone through if we have a brief history of it. But what actually is required from a software? Can anybody give a small glimpse of it? What does a pharma company needs? What does a pharma company need from a software? Just give your idea. What? Yeah, that's right. So, what does a pharma company require from a
Sir,
software?
actually, yeah, sir.
What is it needed?
Am I audible, sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, Praveen, you are clear. Please proceed.
Yeah, yeah. Sir, actually,
All right. So,
you are explaining about how software.
I'm sharing my screen, and you can see certain factors in that. We'll just go through that, and please follow the screen. And once I have shared my screen, my screen becomes blank. I go into the presentation mode. If somebody wants to talk something, you just need to unmute yourself and say anything to that. So please look at the screen that I am sharing now. So could you see my screen now? So I'm presenting. Could you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's great. All right. So let me just go on with the presentation here. What I have to say, what I have to offer, and this is what we call around. It is a computer system validation now, and what actually the purpose of a software. This is what actually we are trying to make around. So now we go on with the. See, the people when they work on the shop floor or in the lab, they need some kind of guidance. So it is the purpose of the documentation translated into the digitalization. That's what actually a software does. So now, what is the purpose of a software? A software is supposed to guide us and to give certain knowledge. And software, let me tell you, when a software is present, when a working software is present, we can't follow any other rules. We just follow the software. Say, for example, you have an app today. So in this app, you don't want to read a manual for an app. Okay, so you just log in, you get onto that, and you try to understand. So it shares the knowledge. What are all the things there, and it also gives a guidance how to work, how to process, and what kind of data that is required to gather around. So this is what actually it looks on to. Well, and this is the way how we actually get on with the validation. So we need to validate a computer system, a software, because we need to know and we need to get guided perfectly as required by the systems. So now there is only one thing which we can actually understand from software: what to work and how fast, how better we need to work, and also what kind of data that we are actually supposed to gather. So every person, you see, a shop floor is a place where there are many people working around, not one. There are many people on the common purpose. So we should have a common platform to run around. So this actually gives a sense of purpose for a software to be there. And because we need to ensure the right parameters, we got to validate it. And how do we validate it? We are going to have a look at it. We are going to look at it forward. Well, so this is what I was talking about. Initially, we were depending on, for compliance, we were depending upon what we call, excuse me. So what we call SOPs and formats, and these were the updated tools at that time to show the compliance. So we have the formats and all these things, and later on it has become the digital records. So no one actually trusts the manual records at this point in time, because there are many people with different backgrounds working on the same things. So the SOPs and formats, they have become only a reference points, a guidance points. So the more assurance and more confidence comes from the digitalized records. So we go into the growing commitments out there. And then where are we going? We are going towards artificial intelligence, and we are actually going with automations. So this is the way how we are actually growing together. So 20 years before, having SOPs is a great thing for all the things. So SOPs were the only systems, but now it is how much software you use, how much dependable software you use. That's what is going to be a benchmark. And later on, how best you could automate your systems along with the artificial intelligences and all. So we need to upgrade ourselves into the artificial intelligence, first into the digital records, understanding the digital records, and then going into artificial intelligence and the automations. Well, and let me just look at how FDA is concerned about it. All the regulatory bodies in the entire world, they are actually concerned about the data and the unbreakable data and the dependable data. And USFDA is taking really aggressive steps to understand how the data need to be collated and how the data need to be preserved, how the data need to be used and are understandable with the compliances. So now here we have got the latest guidance with and this is actually for clinical investigations. Please don't get carried away. This is only a update. I just wanted to show you this update because it is half relevant to our subject, and it also shows the aggressiveness of the FDA office, how actually they are pitching very fast into the every single corner of the software that we use. So software, when I say software, we are going to generate a lot of data. A lot of data. Some data is voluntary and some data is involuntary. So sometimes we know that we are generating this data, and sometimes we just don't know what kind of data that we are generating. So software has to be validated in such a way that it doesn't get carried away with the other involuntary data, and it generates only the data that we want and that we want to show it across, and that is for the compliance. Look at the guidance, the interests of the guidance, what they have done. One is the authenticity, integrity, confidentiality. Okay, so this becomes the safety of the data and the recognition of certified copies as originals. So now we need to have the original ones in place, and we are not supposed to lose it for a lifetime. And the risk-based approach. So the computer system validation, actually, risk-based approach we are already implementing into it, but it need to be further enhanced to a greater extent. So this is what actually the regulators are intending to, and they are sharp enough than the industry to get into the computer system validations outright. So the compliances are going very seriously onto it. and we just need to understand that how prepared are we, how standard are we, how robust are we. That's what actually we need to talk about, right? Well, so I just pause for a moment and I just ask you, are you guys with me? Are you guys still with me? Well, hello. So is there anybody who can actually raise their hand? That's right. All right. So, anyone want to ask any question until here before getting into the other slides? Well, so shall we go further then?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so we are stopping here for a moment, to just have an understanding on the way how the FDS are actually penetrating into our day-to-day activities every single day. So, how do we go about the computer system validation as a theory, as a concept, as a principle? How actually we need to run through it? So, this is what our next slides talk about. See, what is the method? What is the right way of doing a computer system validation? See, first and foremost, forget about all the other things that we are actually talking around, but we want to understand what we want, and that need to be acknowledged by all the stakeholders. So first we know what we want. So know what you want, and we got to testify that. So whether we really want them or not. So we generally call in everything into the user requirement specifications at that point in time. So now, when we understand what are all those things that we need, so we are going to testify them against certain standards. And these standards could be customers, these standards could be users, these standards could be the regulatory authorities, anybody actually. So how we get our requirements, the user requirements, from the surroundings that we are connected with. And now, the other one is what you can do. Actually, as a system, what we can do, as a software, what this software can actually do, the capacities, the capabilities of the kind of capabilities that we have with the software that we need to understand and we need to qualify each of them. Qualify, it's just challenge them to test them out. So first, what we know, or first we understand what we want, and that is those are testified, and then what the software can actually do, and we qualify that. And now what do? We create a path from what you can to what you want. Okay, so this is a bridging. The computer system validation, it always bridges, from what we can do and what we want to do. So these are the two things. Say for example, there is a software that we have purchased. Software can be capable of many things, but are those things are falling in the area of what we want? That's what we look at. So now we align. So what a software can do and what we already want. So if these two are aligned, then we go with the next step. We go with proving every touch point. You must have used your calculators or some Amazon or Swiggy or Zomato, whatever the things they are. Let me tell you, it is the input what actually you are giving that is going to have some process behind it. So the moment we have a touch point and there is a process behind it, and this entire system need to be seamlessly worked around, and the triggering point is what? It is you, like how you are actually using it, that matters into it. And every touch point has to propagate properly and give the results exactly the same way every single time. So that's the reason why we have to repeat to confirm. So now How do we go about the computer system validation? We try to understand the requirements from our surroundings, may it be regulators, may it be customers, may it be the users within the system. First, we try to understand all those things, and then what we do, we find a software which can actually have all the processes across, and then we align them, and we align them to see that our inputs are actually giving the actual results on the ground, and then we are going to prove that we are going to prove that every touch point we make is going to give standardized result any number of times. This is what we are trying to do with the computer system validation. Well, are you guys with me? Well, that's the scope of it. So conceptually, functionally, and physically, we are actually dealing with something like this. Whenever we talk honestly about the computer system validation, we fail in setting the boundaries many times. Either we follow what the software company has given, and we go abide it, or we are going to follow the regulators and we are going to follow. But what we need to look at is we need to keep the users in mind, and then we are going to draw the scope or the boundaries. First one is a concept. In a conceptual end, we need to, in principle, understand what actually we need to get on with this software and what kind of properties that, and how we need to get on functionally. So functional part is the subdue of the conceptual part. And because we have the functional part, we have got physical processes established. So this is the scope of the computer system validation. Physically, every process is established based on the functional methodologies. So if the functional methodologies fail, the processes fail. So we need to have a connecting link between these two. We can actually look and see the data, how that we are actually generating and processing. We have something which is really important, certain critical points, and these critical points actually they are supposed to be carried forward with that kind of metadata for important, and we need to find what is important for those things which are important. So this is going to be a real good exercise when we want to get into the computer system validation. Kind of is important. That particular data, but one can establish it out. We have got a two-stage data that we can be backed up with. So what is important and what is important for those things which is important. So these are the two areas that we are actually supposed to look into, and intensively it works through the computer system validation. So what actually it should do? Now, here it is. So what are all the things that actually the computer system validation do? A validation, it has to be having a data, collect the data which is safe. Say for example, say we have got a software for quality management system. Alright, so we have a quality management system software which we deal with our change controls, the deviations, the investigations, and all these things. See the amount of data which is generated, that is unplanned. See, every system, it has got a planned way of collecting the data. But the quality management systems, they are going to collect all the unplanned data, investigated data, and the root cause analysis, and the corrective and preventive actions, which are written nowhere. We are going to create them. Okay? So when we are going to create them, our data should not be misaligned with anything. See, it should not be gone anywhere. If you remember, a couple of years before, Dr. Reddy Laboratories, they suffered a hacker. Somebody, they have actually got into the entire computer system, and their data was being just skimmed away. So now they had to stop their operations until they get it done. So they have to go for a new version of the softwares out there. Why? Because the initial one, it was not safe enough. See, the entire data is going to crash down if it is not safe enough. So somebody can get through. What is the importance of the electronic signatures that we have? We don't have any meaning to have the password control and all these things. So what is the next one? It should be identifiable. So if we can't identify data in a proper sense, the numbering systems, the allocation of numbering systems, certain automatic numbering systems or manual things, we can't retrieve the data in a proper sense. Imagine an Excel sheet without columns. The column names, I mean to say. So we can't find any data. Whatever may be the information that you have, we can't fish it out. That becomes another trouble. So our system should be validated strongly to identify the data and present it whenever it is required in a report format. And then the other one is strong. See, the strength of data is something different that we are going to talk around. Okay? See, how strong our processes are, how strong or how robust our mechanisms are, and how they are actually being tracked through. This is what actually we need to validate it out, because we are showing complaints, and this data has to be presented in such a format, such a strong logical set of format that there is no other better data than the data that is collected during these processes. So that is what we mean. So we make a strong statement out there. So we have to go on with the statements because we are hitting complaints directly. You remember the story, what happened with messaging center 4 5 years ago. So the people, they were just unaware of it. So now we need to build certain strength into the computer system validation. There shall be no problem, no data that is generated without our knowledge. That's what actually this means. And indispensable. So let me tell you, once we are actually habituated with the mobile phones, the smart mobile phones, we don't feel like passing our time on TVs anymore. You remember that? So you have got a set of real good apps where they can actually entertain you very well. YouTube, Shorts, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, everything. So the TV time has been drastically reduced once we had this internet and the mobile phones, the smart mobile phones, which can download certain apps. So now the software is going to be indispensable. We can't skip software under any situations. So if we are not there, we have to get there. That's all. But we can't take a kind of excuse that we don't have a computer system software here. We can't say that. No pharma company should say that. And it is so dependable for the formats, for the auditors and all these people. And the final one, it has to meet all the consequences. Say for example, we have manufactured a batch, and this has gone to the market. And now there was a small adverse event supposed to be adverse event, which is not. So now that comes back to us. And now what shall we do? We are going to retrieve all the data. So the entire data, what we have collected until then, it has to support known things and unknown things. So certain things are planned. So we have the data, we have the processes aligned, and that actually goes through, and we can use the data. But we also need to be ready for those things which are unplanned. Say for example, if a market complaint has come back, and we need to have sufficient data to substantiate ourselves. So if we can't substantiate ourselves onto it, probably our computer systems are failing. Right? So with that, I think I just need to tell you, this is what actually the computer system is actually required for planned things and for unplanned things. This is the way how we run across the things out. And now, we just need to raise our standards. We just exercise, we just think, and the regular things, they just go on. They all go on and on, they get outdated slowly. So we got to update ourselves. And where from? From knowing to stating. We need to raise our standards that we can't say I know. It is nothing for anybody. I know and I do. This is what actually we need to have. So our computer system validations, it is not a pool of knowledge. It is actually a set of actions. It is a technology that we are actually converting our science into the results, right? So if you know everything, that's good for one. If we can state for it, it is for the greater good. So it is the entire team that actually gets onto the benefiting part. And what could be the action points connected with that? See, how can we actually get on through it? These are the action points that what we need to do. So we should start with a modern risk-based computer system validation, or CSA, that is computer system assurance strategy. So we got to have a strategy for how best we can actually connect them throughout. So IQ, OQ, PQ, sequentially, and follow through the change controls and the traceabilities and the audit trails and the validation throughout the system lifecycle. So validating a computer system or a software, it is a life cycle. So it is not just once for all that we are doing. So it is going to have many connects onto it. So we start with user requirement specifications and the design things and the installation things and the OQ and PQ. But how fast and how long we are going to track it for the better results. That's what actually goes on. We can't stop at one. It is a life cycle. It is an implementation and continual improvement. And we need to ensure the data integrity, of course. Uh, we want computer systems to maintain certain data integrity out there. So this data integrity is one thing which is not supposed to be broken. And the software validation or the system validation, it has to support everything. So one goes with the audit trials, the access controls, metadata preservations, the way how we are backing up the data, everything, and certified copy procedures. Prepare for RLAs, maintain inspection-ready electronic systems, virtual systems, and document retrieval and remote cyber security assurance. So these are the things which are actually seen very seriously. Earlier, password was nothing, but now we are actually considering it as equal as uh, a personal signature out there. It's a legal entity. So never ever share the passwords. That's what actually we can say. And we enhance the device, the software securities based on the earlier histories. And then we stay current with the emerging guidance. So we are having the CSA drafts, we are having the artificial intelligence life cycles pitching in. Oh, let me tell you, the industry is actually running very fast. Earlier, 20 years was a generation, but with the industry, it is 10 years. And later on, with the software, it has become less than 5 years. Within 5 years, the entire structures are being changed, and we can't stop it. So nowadays, I think we are considering 3 years as a generation. Once you prepare an SOP, and by the time it comes for the mandatory review, the entire systems are changed. That's going to be happening. It is so fast nowadays, and we have to be very clear onto these things. And how prepared are we is actually going to help us. And now, whether we can capture everything and all at a time, that's what actually we are going to see through. So the action points. Here, so now this implementing a modern risk-based computer system validation or having an computer system assurance, like how we had a documentation assurance earlier in QA, we are going to have something called as a computer system assurance, and we check in the audit rails and voluntary audit rails and voluntary check mock testing of the software. That's what we have to incorporate into our systems. So we need to have a method how to monitor a system. We have, like how we have data maintenance SOPs, we need to have computer system software assurance SOPs. So in what frequencies we are going to get into audit trails, and how we are going to do it, and how we are going to take the reports and all these things. This is one thing which I wanted to tell you actually. So we need to have certain systems which actually monitor the computer software. Not generally, not very easily I find them. They are not very common in the companies right now. But we need to have certain SOPs based on what kind of mechanisms that we are actually monitoring our software. That have to be for sure. We are supposed to incorporate those things. Well, Okay, Praveen, I think we can just go to the next slide. Well, it needs some certification, qualification kind of things for to a computer system validation. Not everybody can actually get into the systems just with the mere knowledge. They need to have a regulatory connect. So, what Royal Quality Pillars can do with is that we have certain identified people who are actually interested. So now this becomes, this is out of growth actually. When we become bigger than a leader, leading all the things at a site, I think you can have an individual consulting practices like how we are. A kind of a freelancing thing where we can actually deal with. So as a continuation of this program, I think we have got one more session scheduled on Monday from 7 to 9 with one live case study. A live case study, I mean to say, we'll be having one software, and how do we validate the software right from URS to the final stage. So the entire steps that we can have a chat, I think we can have an understanding on how best we can do it and what are all the components they are supposed to be included. So anybody interested into it, I think I want you guys to get connected back on Monday for a detailed case study. This is only a 1 hour training program. Time is not really sufficient for us to go ahead with all those things. So a 2 hour session is actually scheduled, and entire process of computer system validation. We are going to see that, and we are going to have Sunday talks like this. I think 1 hour on a Sunday is not a very big investment, so we just try to get on with the different topics, and so stay in touch. Probably we come back with some new topics which are really useful on the professional front, and there are really good innovative strategies that we can discuss. Well, and we have got the link there. We actually go through this link almost standardly. So even if you don't catch up the things, you can actually get on through this link and get connected out there. So Royal Quality Plus is the name that you are actually looking at, and this is going to be your partner and a companion all through your professional life. Right. My name is Suresh Bomareddy. You can just connect back to through LinkedIn. You can see all my experiences and what are all the. I have 25 years of on the ground experience, and I worked in almost all top 4 global generic companies at a general manager level. And you can just go through my profile. So I don't want to talk about myself so that I don't waste a lot of time. So you can see Suresh Bomma space Bomma and Reddy.